Hey friends, Allison here. Welcome back to my channel. I am sharing a new 12 by 12 scrapbook layout with you today. I had these scraps of pattern paper just lying on my desk and I challenged myself to use them up somehow in layout. And actually before I started designing this layout in Cricut Design Space, I arranged the papers out on my desk first just to get sort of an idea what direction I wanted to go in. And then once I had that somewhat figured out, I went over to my Cricut, figured it all out, designed it, and then came back to the actual creative process. So this piece of paper I pulled out of a 6x8 paper pad. It's by Momenta. It is old. And it was a little too long for the rest of the papers, so I trimmed it down. This, of course, is after I had all the edges inked to match some of the pattern papers. Some of the pattern papers in the background were already distressed looking and some weren't. So the ones that weren't distressed, I distressed with some espresso ink from Close to My Heart and made them look like they matched. I was just showing you there some paper that I killed in the process of creating this layout. There's actually more paper that I killed as well, but I didn't share that in the video. It always feels so good to get scraps used up. As a matter of fact, this white cardstock that I'm working on right now to mat my photos is killed, and then the mink cardstock that they are going to be matted to as well, I also kill. So yay! All the cardstock that I use today in this layout is from Close to My Heart. I'll link them down below, so if you are interested in checking them out, you will be able to find them. So my pictures were printed at 2 by 2 inches. I'm going to layer them over top of this circle, which is going to be my title mat. There is the title, part of it at least anyways. It's the word winter. My pictures are going to be glued or adhered to the layout with some craft foam just to pop them up off the page a little bit and give it some height and dimension, and also just to separate the pictures from what's in the background. I use liquid glue to adhere them to the layout, and then once I've got the pictures figured out where they're going to live on that circle, I stamp the rest of my title. So the entire title is going to be Early Signs of Winter, and I die cut winter, of course, with my Cricut. And it is also going to be adhered with foam squares just so it pops up off the page. Really, it's because the photos are already popped up and they need to be at the same height. The title needs to be at the same height as my photos. So that's why I use foam squares to pop them up. There, I'm doing it right now. It did look like the title was adhered beforehand when I was doing the stamping. It wasn't. I only had it there as a guide, so I knew where to put the stamped portion of my title. I didn't want to limit myself to how much or how little room there was for the title and stamping together. So I laid it out just so I knew what was what, did my stamping, which also was in espresso ink from Close to My Heart, and then I glued the title down. Okay, so I decided to staple my snowflakes together. They were cut from a combination of mink cardstock and white daisy cardstock, but my mini stapler has a mind of its own. 99.9% of the time, it does not cooperate with me. So I take it apart, put it back together, and then it staples. And then I repeat the process over and over because it's just, that's the way it's going to be. So I staple all my snowflakes together and I'm just arranging them around the page. They will cascade down the page over top of the pattern papers. I didn't ink these snowflakes, and actually the arrows that are going to be adhered, which I'm working on right now, to each of the photos aren't inked as well. I really should have inked them because in the close-ups at the end of the video, you'll see that they blend into the background and it's hard to see the difference between the two. I also neglected to ink my journaling strips, which is coming up in just a moment after I've got my date stamped on this little tab. So I turned off the camera and actually just took my little blending tool and ran it over the journaling strips after it had already been glued to the layout. It didn't work so well. Here's my journaling. And actually I didn't have enough journaling to begin with as well. So when this video ends, it is kind of abrupt because I decided not to record adding the extra journaling just because I thought it was repetitive. And you all know how that goes. So I showed you just what I had here, and then at this point I was like, it doesn't feel balanced enough, so I'm going to add a little bit more journaling. So that's what I did. And that brings me to the end of this layout. Once again, I'm so excited about having used up more scraps, and actually scraps from mini paper pads. Here are my close-ups. I hope this video and my layout inspired you, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and a like, and if you enjoy Cricut projects, maybe consider hanging around. Thanks for joining me today, friends. Happy Saturday, and I'll be back again soon with more creative inspiration. Bye, friends.